when you first started doing stand-up, what was your material like? Where did you perform? And did all this help you with material?
Yes, so I always been kind of told I was funny, and so I was like, yeah, okay. So I started like doing this whole research in the improv and stand up. And my first stand up comedy show that ever first time performing stand up, I went to a mic. It was ran by the Cates at the time. That's what they were called. It was an improvised open mic. So basically, I had to pull a word out of the hat and then talk about it for 4 minutes. So I had no idea what my set was going to be about.
Let's talk about your journey with stand-up comedy. Like, you're performing in the Chicago area, and where does your career take you from there as far as stand-up is concerned?
Okay, so stand-up is like my gym. I love stand-up. It's my thing. And one thing I learned quickly in Chicago, that it will teach you how to be funny, and you learn different rooms.
All right, I'm here with Arlieta Hall, and we're going to get into the rich tradition of Second City. We're going to get into her whole origin with her entertainment career and stand-up comedy. And let's just jump right in. She's sitting in her Chicago home with artwork from her mother. We were talking at pregame about all this beautiful artwork she's got in there. I thought it was New York, but it's actually Chicago. Take us, were you born in Chicago? Tell us a little about your origin story here.
So, yes, I was born in Evergreen Park, which is like very close to Chicago, a little company area. Everybody from Chicago know that hospital. So I went to school in the suburbs, graduated from Thornwood High School, and then I went to Northern Illinois University in DeKalb, where I obtained my Bachelor of Arts in Communications. So moved back home to Chicago, and I started working for Hertz Rental. Then I started working at a school as a one-on-one aide. And then I started working for the Department of Human Services as a human services caseworker. So I was issuing like Medicaid and like SNAP benefits. And then boom, my father was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. And because I had already experienced that with one of my great aunts and my grandmother, my mom's mom, I knew that he was about to quickly forget who I was. So I decided to quit my job and become his caregiver. Okay, yeah, decided to quit my job and become his caregiver and kind of make the most fun of it. And when I quit my job in 2018, it was the year after I was introduced to comedy. So I was introduced to comedy very wild by going to a gender reveal party.
So already some gems here. So, comedy, bringing light to the darkness, bringing light into the darkness, every comedy, all jokes are set with a negative denominator. But, your dad, where you worked, when you first started doing stand-up, what was your material like? Where did you perform? And did all this help you with material?
Yes. So I always been kind of told I was funny. And so I was like, yeah, okay. So I started like doing this whole research in the improv and stand up. And my first stand up comedy show that ever first time performing stand up, I went to a mic. It was ran by the Cates at the time. That's what they were called. And the Cates put together a mic. It was at a dive bar. Yes. First time I ever did comedy was at a dive bar, and it was an improvised open mic. So basically, I had to pull a word out of the hat and then talk about it for 4 minutes. So I had no idea what my set was going to be about. And so I pulled out horoscopes. And then I kind of just really actually did a great job on my set. Because my stepmom is in astrology, like both my parents are Leos. So like, they think they always right. They never wrong. So I was able to just like kill my set. And then I won like the show for the night. And it kind of speaks to my entire life. My entire life is improvised. And that's how I ended up like living it and taking care of my dad and using improvisation comedy to like agree with the confusion that he was experiencing Alzheimer's. So everything just kind of magically tied together, but I had no idea what I was going to talk about on stage. And then I like pulled it, killed it. And I kept going to that mic to kind of get out of my head. Cause what I would realize is when other people would go up, I would be able to write about whatever they pulled out of the hat, and I would have some stuff for theirs. So I was like, oh, I'm good with it. Helped me realize that I was a storyteller. And that's what I realized that I was doing. And that's the type of stand-up that I do.
Right. Do you talk about your personal life at all in your material?
Yes, all my stand up is my personal life. I don't make up anything. I talk about my dad, like having Alzheimer's is one thing that I realized was funny that I did not know, like me taking care of him and the different things I was experiencing. Like Alzheimer's disease makes the diseased person kind of want to run away or like not be in the house. And then my dad like ran away from me down the street, didn't know who I was. And I was telling my stepmom and my mom, and they thought it was funny. And I was like, I'm crying. This is not funny. And then I went to the same open mic that I was going to, pulling out of a hat. And then I went to another open mic after that where there is no hat. Like, what are you going to talk about? And I was like, what am I going to talk about? So then I decided to tell the story that I told my stepmom and my mom about my dad running off on me and how I like decided to act like these different characters because he didn't know who I was to get him to come back in the house. And it was my first set that I did about my dad having Alzheimer's and me being a caregiver and learning how to use improv and go along with him. And I got such a huge reaction from the audience. Like people, like beyond laughs, people came up to me afterwards and told me like they had parents or aunts or whatever family members that experienced Alzheimer's. And then I realized that I wasn't the only person dealing with this and that aging was something that we are all dealing with, like no matter the ethnicity, the color, shape, size of who you are. Like this is something we had in common. And I had a set that was going to connect with people. And I used my set. And then I started working on a documentary about me and my father, about me being a stand-up comedian that uses improv to share the story and validate him. So, which that all started, I started comedy 2017, started taking care of my dad in 2018. 2019, I started making a documentary that I am still working on called Finding Your Laughter.
Wow, great stuff. My mom had dementia, so she would say things like, it's like Bon Jovi. We were friends with him when he was a kid. I'm like, Mom, you're never friends with Bon Jovi, but it's just like that shit just like metastasize out of nowhere, and it's just an interesting, thing to talk about because a lot of people are afraid to talk about it. But if you bring that lightness there, and it was so, you must have had a really awe-inspiring. It's like no one never talks about this, and it's great that you showed that vulnerability, and we really appreciate that. Right?
Thank you. And yes, and that's why
I mean that, but I'm saying people came up to you and said that.
Yes, like kind of like you just did. Like they will come up to me and share a story and then a joke behind it. Like I'm like, this is something that is we all dealing with, and then we are all subtly because we don't have any there's really no caregiver's guide to Alzheimer's dementia. You don't know. You just looking at this person in your family and they're like, what's going on? I mean, back when I'm was raised by boomers, so when I was younger, they just called it going senile, if you remember that.
Right. Yes.
Yes.
Right.
They're like, they've been watching too much TV. They going to see now. It's like, what? Right. So, but yeah, I would get people coming up to me and telling me these stories. And I was just like, this is a thing that we have and we're all hiding it because we're ashamed that our family members or friends are forgetting. But in the same breath, we're going with this experience with them. We're encouraging them. We're laughing with them. We're taking this darkness as, okay, they don't know. So whatever, let's just be nice and let's validate them. So it really adds. And having that empathy with this person really does like expand the moments that you can have with a person with Alzheimer's or dementia.
Let's talk about your journey with stand-up comedy. Like you're performing in the Chicago area, and where does your career take you from there as far as stand-up is concerned?
Okay, so stand-up is like my gym. I love stand-up. It's my thing. And one thing I learned quickly in Chicago that it will teach you how to be funny and you learn different rooms. So like I started doing the comedy, like I said, pulling out of the mic and just gonna be frank. It was in the rooms that I were in were like mostly white and they were friendly. Like it was some comics and they were nice. So I thought I was better than I was. And then like I took a comedy class, which I mean, people can teach you the sauce, but they can't teach you the sauce. Like, so I learned how to write a joke. And then like I took those jokes and then went to this mic in Chicago called Bartenders that's hosted by Leon Rogers and then produced by Don Ski. And I thought and during this time that I went to the mic, they were all practicing for the Def Comedy Jam show. So that means everybody in here with a hot, tight five. And then they bring me up and someone's like, and she's a newer comic, put your hands together. And then it's like, I go up with these comedy school, soft, nice jokes that do not work at all. And I bombed. And that was the first time I bombed. And I mean, the room is quiet, so they listening to you. They want you to be funny, and you're not funny, and you have to sit there and take it. And like, I had one drunk lady laughing at me, and I was just so appreciative that she didn't know that I wasn't funny. So when I went home and tried not to,
at least they were quiet.
Yeah, but not
it wasn't
when they
like
just
the
laughing.
Apollo.
No, it was terrible. The comedian that went up before me, I mean, everybody in Chicago knows his hot sauce. So he goes up, destroys the room. I mean, destroys the room. Like people falling out their chairs laughing. And then it's me, and I'm terrible. And then it's Leon Rogers. So it gets back good. So, you know, I have to, and I said, I didn't go home right away. You know, I stayed in the room. I talked to people afterwards. And then I went home, and then I was just like, you know, maybe this ain't for you.
Yeah, that conversation. Yes.
And then I'm like, no. So I decided to continue to go out. I went back to that same mic, and then other mics that I realized were harder. So I went to different black rooms where you're not gonna get these easy laughs. You're not gonna get these easy laughs at this bar doing bar comedy. You know what I mean? Like it's not a comedy theater where they coming in here ready to laugh. Like they drinking, they talking to their friends. Can you get their attention in 0.5 seconds and make them laugh? So it taught me to start going to more rooms like that. So I would go to Bar 10, I would go to Francis, a room called Angels, and then I would go like to Laugh Factory, do like the 3-minute open mics, and then you just get better. And then so I started doing stuff like that. And at the same time, I was doing improv comedy on a team where I was the only person of color. So like now I'm doing comedy where I have to be smart. So I'm not just doing comedy to people that are my peers. I'm doing comedy off the top of my head. So I'm doing improvisation every week on a Friday night with a team of 7, along with me going out doing stand-up comedy, doing this 5-minute set about me taking care of my daddy. So now not only I think I'm funny, I'm trying to make Alzheimer's funny. So I got 2 and 2 going together.
Those work really well together. And when you're doing an improv thing and then you're doing stand up, those really you get really your instrument gets really. I've done that, you know, with Off the Wall in LA, and then you know going to the Belly Room a lot, and you know the Comedy Store, and that doing that, you know, weekly, you know, really fine tunes your instrument.
Yes, it does. And one thing that I kept realizing with Alzheimer's, so I stuck with, like, I had a few different topics that I talked about, but I talked about caregiving the most because that's what I was doing most of the day. So I kept doing this set everywhere, and I just got really good at it. And then I learned that too, because like one of my family members was saying, like, you keep doing this same joke, but that's how comedy works. By the time, and one of the veteran comedians told me, like, you watching these specials, by the time you watch a comedian do a special, they've done those jokes years. They finessed them. They've done they've done that joke at a even if they have a special every year. That joke that you saw them do, they probably did at different comedy clubs and toured with it for 6 months, a year to finesse it. So I just was learning how to do comedy. You get a joke, you work it, you keep it, you make it better. If it works, and that's what I learned. Okay, if I'm funny in these if I can get your attention in bar comedy, I'm solid when I get to the comedy club now. You know what I mean? Like, I've learned how to do crowd work. So now I can do crowd work when it comes to this comedy club. And because I do improv and stand up, now I'm learning how to put this together and host. So now I'm going to take notes during the show. So now when it's time for me to go up, I should be able to not only do some crowd work, but I should be able to bring up something the whole audience just saw and make a joke off of it because I know how to improvise. And I'm about to do my stand-up comedy set because I didn't work this 5 minutes that I know work, along with these other things about telling my truth. And I learned that too at comedy, that it's not about talking about the celebrity or somebody else's business. Like, who are you? People want to know you're a real person. And I learned that with sales. Like, my very first job was telemarketing. And then they were like, only way you're going to make a sale is if people know they're talking to a real person. So if they believe and you believe in your product, then they're going to believe you. So with my stand-up, I'm like, it's not about if I'm making up this dating situation. You know that horrible date you went on. Tell them about it. Somebody else went on the date and they was like, oh, I can't believe this happened. You know, somebody else is caregiving right now. Somebody else knows somebody that's caregiving. Even if they don't know, they know someone that's aging and they want to hear from somebody that's being honest. Like, you know, so that it helped me to just be honest and truthful with who I am, and knowing that that's what makes comedy a little bit funnier is when you are in the raw being yourself, and then popping your shit. Like, I talk my stuff. Like, I'm gonna be honest, whatever comedy I'm doing, whether it's sketch, improv, or stand-up, which led me to like being in Second City. I ended up getting a fellowship, auditioning for the Bob Curry Fellowship in 2020, the beginning of the year. And you would typically go on there. Bob Curry is a Black man from Chicago, one of the first Black men to ever be on the main stage at the Second City. So they offer this fellowship to 16 of the best improvisers in the city and teach them how to write sketch comedy and give them a run of a show after that. So I go into this fellowship where normally people do 1 minute monologue of a character. And I was like, okay, well, I do a lot of stand-up. Even though I was doing improv before and I could do a character, I went in there to Second City and did a 1 minute stand-up bit about being a caregiver for my daddy.
Yeah.
Insane. So I'm in this audition with 30 people and I'm watching the rest of them do characters. And when they called me up, I was like, I'm the only person that's going to do stand up and they don't know. So I just come out there like, it's time for your minute. And I just go on fire. Like, I just like, pop, 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 get my daddy joke out. You know what I mean? Then I'm done. So then I get the call back and then I end up talking to the casting director, and I ended up actually becoming a part of the 2021 Bob Curry Fellowship. So out of the 270 people that auditioned, I was one of the 13 that ended up being picked for the program. So it was amazing. I also, during that same time before the program started, I auditioned and got into the conservatory program at Second City. So with those married together and then the fellowship, I got to meet some amazing teachers because you get a lot of the greatest teachers in the building to teach the program. And my fellowship was the first fellowship. They normally give you one show at the end of the fellowship, but they gave us a 4-week run and we got to write our own material and put it in the show. Not only did we get a 4-week run, they end up extending our run to the end of the year. So we end up doing a 3-month show, which was amazing. And right after that, it led me to Second City offered me to understudy the Black Excellence Review, which started that following year, 2022. And I was a swing study. So I understudied for the 3 ladies that was in the cast, which was, it was a lot, fake overwhelming, but I was so excited to do it. So everything just started to align. So not only am I understudying, caregiving, making this documentary, doing stand-up comedy, and then at the same time while I'm understudying, I'm starting my crowdfunding campaign to raise money for my film that I'm in. And then boom, my dad is in hospice. So during the whole week, the week that we launched the crowdfunding campaign, my dad is in hospice and then my dad passes away. So now I'm here with this, what am I doing with my life now?
And the material.
So, and my material. But my dad was the first person in my family to want to be cremated. And you know the difference between cremation and burial, right?
Yeah. I'm Jewish. $20,000. You can't cremate. You gotta be in a box.
You gotta be in a box, but the difference is $20,000. So
second thought,
I was like, this isn't that bad.
Yeah.
So
go down that boat and spread the ashes in the ocean like you said you wanted that one time.
Right. So we had this amazing service. We had one of my cousins plays the violin. So it was just a beautiful service. My stepmom became a comedian during this process. So she took a comedy class, but she's already funny. So now her monologue at the funeral, the memorial, which should be of a grieving wife, she's up there making jokes. Can't believe he married the funniest woman in Chicago. I'm like, this is not your stand-up routine. So we got to have joy with each other during that time. And then after that, I end up being asked to it was a stand-up show that was already been growing. They had been together for a year called My Best Friend is Black. I was asked to be a part of their team and co-produce the show with them. So we co-produced a stand-up variety show, which has been, it was a phenomenal thing to walk into after going through that with my dad. So I was able to walk into a safe place with 6 other producers that are just like, we all have tasks. I'm not overwhelmed with putting on a show or trying to find places to perform because I have a monthly show to do there. And then we end up getting a residency with the University of Chicago. So now we're putting a show on the South Side for free and on the North Side. So now we work in both sides of the city, which was amazing. And during this time, I figured out a different strand of comedy because I wasn't able to still do my caregiving jokes because I'm processing grief at this time. So now what I was doing was taking notes at the show, and now I'm doing improvised comedy sets straight off the top of my head about other people's comedy and stuff. And I'm going up doing my 10 minutes about other stuff that's happened in the room, and I'm crushing. So I end up finding a different tool and ways to write jokes. So and then coming along all that, I end up being asked by Second City to be in the Black Excellence Show for 2023 and write it. So I actually was in the writer's room, got writer's credit, wrote for the show, performed in it. It was sold out for 10 weeks. Wow. Phenomenal show. We had a lot of different people that came out, including the Obama Foundation, to support the show. So we killed it. And then this year, I was asked at the end of the year to come back to do the show. So I just wrote the show again, and it just opened up last week, and it is called Black by Popular Demand. And we sold out last week, sold out again this weekend. And it has been off the chain. So I have been, and with that being said, with my documentary, I end up getting the editor our dream editor that we wanted. If anybody's familiar here, which we probably should be, with Tig Notaro, a comedian who also wrote, have a Netflix documentary about herself and how she was going through cancer and trying to get married and then being a stand-up comic. And the editor that edited her film, Mary Manhart, we actually met her through Sisters in Cinema, which is Yvonne Wellbond. That's also my advisor. I'm also a Sisters in Cinema. We met Mary Manhart, and she came on as our finishing editor. So I have Tig Notaro's editor on my film right now, editing it. And I'm also, like I said, a Sisters in Cinema, which is a fellowship given to me by Yvonne Wellbond, who is over Sisters in Cinema, which is about supporting women, women of color, women and non-binary women, just to help support them during the filmmaking process. And so everything is aligning itself with my career, as I, just going to be honest, took that leap of faith to take care of my father and do comedy. I just could not be more grateful with my career, even as acting is coming together. So I have billboards across the city right now from different things that I've done, from modeling. And I'm just very thankful for what I did for my father, even though I missed him tremendously, because I did not tell you, Michael, but tomorrow is the 2-year anniversary of losing my dad. So to be able to have this interview, this podcast with you, when you would not believe me, last year and the year before that, I was up on the rock crying myself to sleep. So like to be able to be up and like talking to you and then getting ready to do a sold out show that I helped write, and then to be able to have my film going in a direction that is going, my comedy. I have a sold out show with My Best Friend Is Black. I'm speaking into existence because it's halfway sold out next week. I'm just very excited for this, and I'm just thankful to be on your platform and just sharing the things that I've been through. And I just hope that other people can connect and just continue to push through, because people are going to tell you that you sound crazy and you don't.
All right. Awesome. Couple questions. One, are you tired?
Yes. I take naps. Okay. I take a lot of naps. Now, and I'm in a lot of therapy. 7 years of therapy. Active.
Okay. How do you, because you're a high achiever. So this is Stein Time Show, but I have another podcast where I really like to ask people on that show, that really how do you time management? What are your secrets for time management? Okay, this is a personal development question. Sorry, guys. I have to find out myself. Whenever I talk to somebody like this, I want to know, because I'm collecting tips along the way, because everybody's got their own thumbprint. What do you do to maximize your time? So
I have a few different notebooks for everything, because I have a crazy thing where I have to write everything down. And then I can electronically put it in my calendar. So 2024, I will be honest, it was my first time trying to actually put everything on my calendar in my phone, even myself, because it's so much easier. But I write the stuff down that I have to do. I write all my bills in one book. I write all my shows down. And then what I do for my shows, I put at the beginning of each month, I'll try to do it maybe the last day of the month or the first day, write all my shows out for the whole month. And then I put up out a calendar on my page, on my social media to produce that. So like now I know what shows I got, and now everybody else knows what shows that I have. And then as far as work, I put everything on my calendar that I have, my paper calendar, and then on my regular calendar. And then what I learned to say is no. Sometimes I just have to tell people flat out no, and then I could come back with a yes. But it's easier for me to just say no sometimes, and then I have to evaluate what it is that I'm doing, because as you know, sometimes you as you start to elevate, you can't do some of the same things that you used to do because you can't be in those same kind of environments that don't really support your craft. Because it is mentally draining, especially because I came from being a caregiver. I cannot explain the mental exhaustion that I have experienced. So a lot of the times I tell people no. I have to force myself to take days off. So if I look at my calendar, like, and I see that I have a day off, I have to tell myself, you are not allowed to put anything on this day. Just not. And because I'm an entrepreneur and every day is so different, I get in a frenzy because money comes sometimes 30-day net, 60-day net, probably what I'm talking about. And then you get in like between the checks of not being consistent. And I'll tell myself, well, when you work, you work. And when you off, you off. You don't have days like everybody else, but they have the set Fridays and Saturdays off. Because I'm an entertainer, I entertain on Fridays and Saturdays. So I just look at my schedule. And if I'm entertaining Fridays and Saturdays and Mondays and Tuesdays, the day I'm off, you're not doing anything, Arlieta. And you don't tell anybody that you're off. You have to keep it to yourself so people don't ask you to do stuff. And so sometimes I don't tell people I'm off. And when I'm off on those random days, I take them to do absolutely nothing.
Reporting.
Whether that's sitting in the house.
Right, right. Yeah. So it's reporting, evaluating, and then so it's reporting and then I just had it in my head. So yeah, you're just reporting it, and then you're planning it. You're reporting, preparing, and engaging as you go along. You're evaluating. You're
and improvising.
Improvising.
I stay in a moment. Yeah. Yep. So as somebody's telling me, I'm like, oh, can't do this. I don't. First and foremost, nobody's going to get me on the spot. I don't respond to like, how much do you charge, and what can I get this on the spot? I automatically know I don't answer those kind of questions. We'll have to set up something via email because that's draining. And then I also set up stuff where I take myself out on dates every month, like at least 2, where I'm gonna date myself and have fun.
That's healthy. This is all healthy though, to make sure that you have an amalgam of balance. So where are you, what's on your horizon? Like, what's the long-term play here?
So long-term, I would say, one, I'm going to stay in therapy. I feel like therapy, it really helps as far as having that person to talk to help you process everything. And as far as like my film, I'm gearing to have my film done, but be done by the end of this year. So people can still donate to it if you can, to help me at least pay this editor that I have and finish and cost my documentary by www.findingyourlaughter.com. I also plan to continue this show that I'm in Second City. It runs until May 24th. So if you are in Chicago nearby, Fridays and Saturdays at 8 p.m. As far as my fellowship with Sisters in Cinema, I will be continuing to work on my film. And I also have some other things that I want to work on as far as like, I watch the news a lot, and I'm just so tired of seeing the fake news out there. So I would love to come up with my own way, maybe like a night show where I'm explaining the news to millennials. Don't steal my idea because you heard it here first on the Michael Stein Show. But just to continue to do improv, I coach it, I teach it, I do a lot of keynote speaking at different conferences. I would love to continue to do more of that. I love speaking to people about Alzheimer's and how to communicate with caregivers. So that, and My Best Friend is Black. I'm still doing that show every month. We will be all around Chicago. We also travel. We do improv, stand-up, sketch. So if you're looking for like an all-Black troupe to come to your city, please hit us up at mybestfriendisblackshow.com. We will be straight through there. Everyone on my production team with them, we all have credits and all have writing credits and great experience. So I just continue to plan to just be me. I'll be all around doing my thing. I bartend. I'm everywhere trying to be myself, live in my little improvised moment as I can. So just please stay tuned follow me on social media. If I don't do anything, I post with everything that I'm doing on my Instagram at Arlieta Hall. So that is me.
Yeah, it's nice because you're probably having a great time. Also, your passion and your art has been attached to your cause celebs with your dad, with your community, with, your everything. So, To me, it seems like you've really kind of built your own nice little cozy lane, that you get to play
Yes.
in. I
Yes.
rarely ask this typical question. I never ask this, once in a blue moon, but I want to ask you again because this is interesting. There's just so much going on, and it seems like you've been through a lot of volatility in your younger part of your life, and then now you're getting to maximize on what you learned. So when you go back, and this is a typical podcast question, but I have to ask you, you know, what would you tell yourself? What would you fast track for yourself? Say, look, this is, you go back to the 15-year-old you. What would you tell yourself to, you know, to do if you could have that gift?
It's okay to ask for help.
Hmm.
I had to learn that I had to ask for help. The documentary that I'm doing, I wouldn't be able to do it if I did not ever sit down and ask my co-director to help me. I sat down and just told her what I was experiencing and how people like the videos that I'm doing online. But she was actually an editor and had experience in film. And I sat down and asked her for help. And so we've been working on this together since 2019. And had I not asked her for help, I wouldn't have been able to, there's no way I would have been able to do this on my own. I'm a first time filmmaker. So like we've learned a lot together. And even with comedy, I feel like I could have fast tracked myself 4 or 5 years ago if I would have just asked more people, can I do your show? Can you help me? Can I travel with you? You travel a lot. Can you tell me how you started doing that? Or sitting down. I never asked anybody any of these questions up until November, December of 2023 was the first time I started asking people, can I do your comedy show? Do you have a slot that I can do? Because I was always in my head about asking people for stuff. It was not a tool that I use because I'm going to create everything for myself. I'll work a job. I'll figure it out. And I'm just like, I'm tired.
Right. It's interesting that you were afraid to ask for things because usually people are afraid to ask for things for fear of rejection. But when you do stand up, you're gonna get rejected. So it's weird. You were selective with your fear.
Yeah, it was. It's just because I come from I could do it by myself. I could do it all. I don't need any help. I got this. I'm not gonna ask you. You may do it wrong. You won't want to do it. It's gonna irritate me if you bring it up. You may not say yes. Just a lot of anxiety that I had around it. And then I realized and then people would come up to me and be like, Arlieta, I'm just surprised you should be way more booked than you are. It took for other people to tell me how good I'm doing and how much better they think I could be doing. And then I'm just like, I feel that and I'm frustrated by it because I can't figure out what to do. But a part of it is because I'm not asking the people that's doing the shit I want to do.
Right.
Why am I not talking to you if you on tour all year? I should be asking you, not even like, hey, just help me, but I should at least be talking to you. I should at least be telling you you're doing great because you're doing something I want to do. But if you don't even, so it was a huge thing for me. And I realized this month alone, I've done shows on stages that I've never done because I asked for them.
Right.
And I just didn't know it was that. And I'm not going to say that easy, but I would just encourage people to not, and don't be needy, but it's okay to ask for help or ask for assistance and don't be in your head about it. If you're one of them people like me that think you just going to do everything on your own because you can't. And like you asked me earlier, don't you get tired? I'm tired. And people wouldn't know to help you because you doing everything. So it was called learning. I read a book about boundaries. So I learned my boundaries and how to set them for myself and to set them for other people. And then learning that asking people for help is a tool.
Yeah, but now you have that inertia behind you because you have that rich involvement with Second City, which has wonderful history. And now, whenever you do need to ask for help, at least you could feel somewhat justified. I would, because you have a right, and you have something to offer. So, wonderful stories, wonderful, career. And tell everybody how they can find out more about you.
Please, please, please follow me on social media, on Instagram or Facebook. My name is Arlieta underscore HALL underscore. That's on Instagram. And my name is on Facebook, Arlieta Hall. My website is www.arlietahall.com. And please, 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 if nothing else, subscribe to my documentary at www.findingyourlaughter.com. www.findingyourlaughter.com. Please, please, please subscribe to my film. We are still accepting donations. You can donate as well through our 5-0. You can donate and get your tax and put it on your taxes through my website. I will not mess those numbers up. But please, that way we can help finish our film. If nothing else, just subscribe for free to be in tune. Share the story. My trailer is on there with anybody that you know is caregiving or with Alzheimer's. My heart is for those that are caregiving, experiencing it. I've lived it. And I just thank you all for this time. Please follow me, stay tuned. And if you're in Chicago and you haven't come to my show, you need to come. This is your sign right here. Boom. Come see me.
Arlieta Hall. Great, strong name, strong person. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. Gear up for your next adventure and head over to bolator.com to check out the amazing Bolo Pack and their other innovative outdoor gear. Catch you next time.